We are back this morning again at the splash pad. I remembered to bring this one's leash or harness, his backpack harness. He's just going around in circles now. But yeah, I kind of didn't think it through yesterday. I should have done that. It would have been a lot easier for him to walk around. And for me as well, not to have to hold his hand. But anyways, the reason I'm doing this vlog today is to just answer a few more questions from comments that were left yesterday. Oh my gosh, the sun is on my back. Yeah, from some questions that were left yesterday. Give me one sec here. Gotta get situated. These guys keep switching. Okay, I'm not sure what's easier. Having both of them on leashes or just letting one go free. That was a total fail at the beginning there. Alright, I think I'm a little bit more situated now. These guys, I let Chewy off the leash so he can just run around and do his thing because he's just like pulling at me and they're going different directions. So now he's free. He can run. Look at him. There he goes. So now he can run around. The baby just wants to stay around the splash pad area because of these colorful splash things. Right, so he can play. So yeah, I got a question that I thought was a really good question as well. Hold on, let me wear my hoodie because it's not quite, it's spring, but it's not quite that warm yet. Put the hoodie on baby, put a hoodie on myself because a little bit chilly. I remembered to get gloves today for me and baby. Baby's got his mitts on. So we can stay out here a little bit later, I guess, because we were so cold yesterday. I got a question from the video that I posted yesterday, and I'm gonna see if I can answer that to the best of my ability. Let's see here. Knowledge of all truth. I got your comments as well, but I had already posted the new video yesterday. Otherwise I would have included all those things, so I will definitely include, I'll answer your question once I get home. So to start off with, I'll answer Renee Aldridge's question. Renee says, hello. I also have fibroids. The biggest one I have measures 8 centimeters. I have a few, wait, where's the puppy? Oh, there he is. I have a few ones. And her question is, I'm 5 months pregnant and was wondering, did you have your little one vaginal or C-section? My doctor stated I can have vaginal delivery. I just want what's best for my son and myself. Okay, so that's a brilliant question because when I was pregnant, around the same time, around 5 months pregnant, my doctors had told me I could never have a vaginal birth because of the sheer sizes of my fibroids. If you guys watched the previous videos, my fibroids were at the largest around 17.3 centimeters. And I had multiple ones. It wasn't just one. So the problem was they were worried about my vaginal canal being blocked from my fibroids, and then the baby not being able to have a clear path for a vaginal birth. So the whole entire time from about 5 months, I guess as soon as I found out, they were prepping me for a C-section. And because of the complexity and the size of my fibroids, it wasn't just anybody that could give me a C-section. I had to have specific surgeons that were more experienced in the size and scale of my fibroids. And also I had to have a C-section booked in a hospital that actually had the facilities and the staff in case I developed like internal bleeding, and they wanted to make sure that they have enough like what do you call it, blood packs for a blood transfusion if that was needed. So it was quite complex. That's to start off with. And it was a very scary thing to prepare for when you're preparing for the worst, because there was that fear, obviously, that things could go really wrong and I could get some crazy heavy internal bleeding that they couldn't get under control. And so it became quite the life risk for me. It wasn't until later on in my pregnancy, I mean, after they had told me that I would be lucky to get to 26 weeks pregnant in my condition, that's when I decided to start taking my diet seriously, a little more seriously really, and start really paying attention to what foods are the ones that cause my swelling and inflammation and the fibroid growth itself. And I started watching more YouTube videos on how to shrink fibroids and doing some research as well on what herbs and stuff help to shrink fibroids. So I started integrating a lot of those things into my diet. And by the time I got to 26 weeks, I actually got to 26 weeks, and they realized that my fibroids had started shrinking and that there was a possibility that, I could carry the pregnancy possibly full term. But they still weren't sure at that point if I could have a vaginal birth or not. It's just as I got closer and as I started approaching the final trimester, and I guess the effects of the changes I started making, because I started eating less meats and stuff. As far as my fibroids, they were progressively getting smaller and smaller, and I think a few weeks before my due date, actually, my doctor was like, wow, okay, you've made a lot of progress. You've managed to somehow shrink these fibroids to be much smaller, significantly smaller than they were, and your vaginal canal seems to be clear. A baby could fit through there. So, doctors are funny, because the funny thing is, everything that I was telling them when I was trying, they were recommending me not to try it, because they're like, oh, it's not safe, it's not this, there's no, medical studies, there's no clinical studies that will help to see if it's safe. And I'm like, this is natural stuff. It's food. I'm mainly using food to heal myself, and you guys are trying to scare me. Well, but it's understandable, obviously, because that's what they learned, that you have to go by the Canadian food guide at that time. Like, now it's changed to be more predominantly plant-based, but at that time it was heavily still influenced by the meat and dairy industry. And they thought I was going to have a protein deficiency and the baby wouldn't grow, but the opposite happened, actually. The baby was growing fine. My fibroids started shrinking, which made more room for the baby to grow. And he was a big baby, by the way. He was quite the big baby when he was born. So, what was my train of thought here? Did I end up having a vaginal delivery? No, I did not end up having a vaginal delivery, just because, I was in labor since 4 that morning, and we were waiting for me to dilate some more so that I could give birth vaginally, but it didn't happen because the baby ended up pooping. That little thing there ended up pooping in my uterus, which kind of posed its own health risk if I were to wait any longer, right? Risks of infection and stuff like that. So for me, it ended up being an emergency C-section because of that. So if for you, I don't know what to recommend, really. I think it's on an individual basis, because I had been asking a lot of women in the same situation what they ended up doing. And a lot of them, from what I heard, ended up having to get an emergency C-section. And what they recommended was plan it out. If you're going to have a C-section, plan it out. Because an emergency C-section is a lot more invasive, and they're rushing and they tugging at your body and pulling things, pushing things. And the healing process from that, they said, was a lot harder on your body than if you planned it out and they actually took their time. This is what I was hearing from women, different women that were in that situation. My sister gave birth a month before me, and she was in the same situation because she had fibroids too, uterus fibroids. And even though they had told her as well that she could give birth vaginally, she ended up having an emergency C-section as well. And so yeah, I had quite a lot of women that I knew that were in that situation, and I didn't really listen to them because I was like, oh well, maybe it was just them. For me, if they gave me the clear for a vaginal birth, I'm gonna do a vaginal birth. But now on second thoughts, like just in hindsight, I realized I should have stuck to my scheduled C-section. The fact that I even had complications to begin with is a sign that, you know, things don't normally go to plan even when things look great. It's just I should have stuck to my scheduled my scheduled C-section. Then that way it would have been it wouldn't have been so hectic and stressful, because the stress alone from going from having the okay to get a vaginal birth to all of a sudden being rushed to have an emergency C-section, it's just not worth the. I don't think from experience it's not worth the hassle, to be honest with you. That's a lot of stress on your body. That's a lot of stress on the baby. Because by the time the baby came out, they had to monitor him, and they were like, oh, he might have jaundice, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't get to see him for a while. So sometimes it's not a cop-out. If you know you already have pre-existing health issues, and you already have some health risks and issues there, don't feel bad about getting a C-section. That's one of the things that, you know, you see a lot of these videos of like natural births, vaginal births, and how people talk so much about it, how awesome it is, and it makes you kind of go, you know what, if that's the best, that's what I want to do. And it makes you kind of feel bad, like you're kind of you know, copping out by having a C-section. But trust me on this one, you know, if anything, any inclination inside of you is telling you that a C-section might be the best to avoid a lot of risks, just go with a C-section. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that. That's my my advice on that. And obviously you know your situation best, so you can weigh, you know, the pros and cons and make a decision. So best of luck for you there, and I really hope you have a great delivery. If you have any more questions, please ask me questions in the comments. It really encourages me to keep vlogging and making more vlogs when I have these amazing questions coming from people. That these are things that I had questions about too when I was in that situation, but I just kind of forgot, I guess, after the fact, because it's been a while now. So yeah, so let me know, like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys once I get home, actually, because it's kind of chilly out here. All right, let's try this. Yeah, I get to push you. I get to push you. I get to push you. Wow, I get to push you. I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna push you. Yeah, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Yeah. And one more thing I can add is, you know, for those moms going through all the pain, the fibroid pain, hang in there. It's so worth it at the end. Like, that's what you end up with. You know what I mean? Like, look at that. Look at that smile. You know, if someone told me to do it all over again and go through all that pain all over again, like if I knew now that that's what I was going to go through, I'll do it. I'll do it anyway. to be honest with you. I mean, it's really painful. It is really, really painful. I would say it's the most painful thing I've ever been through, having fibroids. But I mean, having fibroids while you're pregnant. But if you do get through it, I mean, you'll be laughing. You'll be just laughing home every day, because so much joy that comes out of, like, once your kid is there and then you can see them and you watch them growing. There's just so much joy that comes out of it. That itself, just that alone, is healing, you know. And that itself motivates me every single day to stick to my vegan or plant-based diet and heal my body. Not just my body, heal my mind. I work on my mind as well, do a lot of introspection, meditation, you know, to shed away all of those toxic thoughts and, you know, those toxic people that I used to, or I was accustomed to having around me. Just get rid of all of that and really heal, start the healing inside, not just physically, but, you know, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You need to start that healing process on every aspect of the human, of your existence. Alright, so yeah. I will, once I get home, I'm gonna let you guys know actually what products I use in the house, since we're on this topic. Because, what's her name again? Knowledge of All Truth asked me what kind of products I use in my house and on my body and stuff like that. So once I get inside, I'm going to cover all that stuff so that I give you guys an idea of what you can do, not should, what you can do if you want to, you know, maximize that healing process and, like, speed it up, right? So yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon.